Mia.
And I am calling the meeting to
That's how
order.
it's enough?
Do you want to do 8:15 instead?
Let's do 8:15.
Okay.
Okay, so we're talking the
Have a
17th.
good meeting.
Thank you.
Thank
Can you close the door on your read?
Yep.
Thank you.
Okay, Colleen, we have any comments? There's nobody here. Is there anybody online for comments from the public?
Not as of yet.
I just have a notation of, I'll pass out or I can pass them out now, the judging forms, if you could judge the billboard contest.
Oh, sure.
in the fair.
Sure, we can do that.
Okay.
Okay, I'll look for a motion to approve the minutes from the June 15th meeting.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Hi. Yeah.
Yeah.
For him to say aye, then we got to come.
Aye.
Tom, what do you have for us for safety share?
Safety today. How many people here grill out?
I want to learn, but I don't know how to do that.
Grill out, yes. So I thought we'd just real quickly touch upon that, with the grills, I'm amazed when I'm walking around some backyards, how many houses I see where they started up their gas grill. And it was a little bit too close to the vinyl siding. And they're lucky they didn't burn down the house. They just took and
Yeah.
crinkled the siding, but that's a hard fix because usually the siding's too old. So when you're grilling, make sure you know the location. Try to clean your area up so you don't have tripping hazards, hoses and that laying around. We have a tendency of tripping on. And then, and then somebody could probably help me with this, the handling of meat. You don't use the same plate to bring out the raw meat. You take the cooked meat in and you always wash the plate up with different plates off. I don't know, some old joke that they had where the guy in the house says, let's cook out. And then what that means is that he goes and sits there with beer and flips the hamburgers while the woman is making salad, making the potato salad, making this, making that. She does all the work. So, remember to help the other people. That's all I have right now. Is if anybody has anything else they want to add, just, and it's really basically it's common sense. And try not to be in a rush, because if you're in a rush, that's when accidents happen.
Don't squirt gasoline on your coals and then throw a match on it. That's not good.
Well, and that's a whole different thing when you're talking charcoal versus
Yeah.
a gas stove. Gas stoves, you can turn off 15 minutes later, you can put the cover on and be safe. Where that other grill, you still got the embers in there and then it could cause burning, don't take the coals and throw them in the garbage can.
No.
That's the way you start a garbage can fire. Who gets this?
Did you
Karen
sign
hadn't signed
in?
it yet.
Because I had not signed in, but I looked at it. There was only one name. It was yours. It was so good.
So that's all I have.
Very good.
Try to keep it short.
Okay, committee chair report. I got nothing from Steve. Did he give you anything for a chair report?
So, no. One of the things that I discovered is that since somewhere in mid-June, there was an update on the Winnebago system side. I have not able to get emails from Winnebago County addresses. There's a block. So if anybody from Winnebago County using their winnebagocountywi.gov has sent me an email in basically the last month, I have not. I can't guarantee that I've received it.
Well, no
So
wonder I've not had a response from you.
that would be why, and we just now narrowed down, working with IT, that around June 15th is when the issue was created. The thing that was interesting is that there are no error messages. So there's no, by the senders or me, none of the messages that I sent were going through, and nobody was, there are no error messages generated. And working with Caleb in IT, there's also no, the log, like the IT side of things. It's like they just poof, disappear. There's no record of anything happening. So that is why, so I apologize if that I delayed response. I also, Steve could have sent me notes, but I have no idea if what they say.
Okay.
They're often, so the best route, just short term until I get this fixed, is to send a note to Robin or Amy's on vacation till Monday, is to send a note to either of them, and then they, because our county staff also have a UW email, then they essentially use that to forward the message and get information to me. So
You found you were getting more work done because you had a problem?
I don't want to, not necessarily, because there's always the space fills, the void is always filled. But it was helpful because Carol, through the budget process, Carol and Ethan, with any updates, have been working those through to, which was helpful. Because there was a couple deadline changes, or due date changes with the process, so it was helpful to know
Well,
those.
yeah, and for me, I received your email, and so I responded to it saying, let's come up with a date. And that's why you'll oftentimes find me calling you,
Yes, yeah,
because if I call you, then I know that you're gonna get the phone message
Yes.
and you're gonna call me back.
and yeah, and I always welcome that, even if the voicemail message is, hey, I sent you an email, go check it. You know, whatever it is. So sometimes that happens. This is not the norm. This is, you know, this is something kind of goofy. Like I said, I've been working with Caleb in the Winnebago IT department, and we actually have a request for Madison IT and Caleb in Winnebago IT to have a joint conversation because they can't find, we don't know where, they don't know where the issue is. It's just not popping up. It's not a simple solve. So again, apologies. But yes, Kay will touch base on
Yeah,
the conversation, and I don't know if Steve had any notes for me, and I apologize.
That's fine, that's fine.
Yeah.
He and I spoke briefly, but he didn't mention that he had anything in particular. I'm looking at the agenda and I see nothing about the fair. Is the fair gonna get covered? Because I was gonna, as acting chair, or the vice chair today, I was gonna say, I have signed up for 2 shifts for Clover Buds judging. And I would encourage anybody, you know, who has any time at all on Tuesday, the 1st, sign up for judging. The littlest of the Clover Buds, it's wonderful. You get to listen to a kid talk. The purpose is for them to learn to discuss what they've done, describe what they've done, talk to adults, so on. They all get a participation letter. They get a little coupon for free Culvers, a scoop of Culvers. It's a good thing to do. A little bit older, they get 1st and 2nd and 3rd ribbons. And then there's also barn work where you can go and judge. I've done this. Horses, cows, cattle, dairy, pigs, sheep, goats, chickens. I didn't do chickens. Anyway, sign up to do some of the judging because it's really worthwhile. Yes.
yeah, you said that last year, I remember. Our letter that we received at the county board meeting is going to be our entrance for every day.
I don't know about that. I think it's only for the day. I thought it was just, I felt that was just for the day you're, you know what? Do you know?
No, that's a fair board.
Yeah.
That was a fair board
We can
driven
get
letter.
Jody
So
to come in and answer some of these questions, I bet. Or touch base with her on our way out.
that would be, yeah, that would be an efficient way.
Yeah, okay. Sorry, I don't know the answer to that. Does it say on the thing? It's a free,
It says this is your entrance.
oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, I
on that
guess it
letter.
is, yeah. But I would encourage you to sign up for, you know, I took 2 shifts, take 1 shift. You know, pick out 1 or 2 animals. I did a lot of animals a couple of years ago. Sign up for a shift.
Yeah.
So that's all I would say in terms of a committee chair report. Ready for any other things to add to that? Okay, UW Division of Extension Program or Educator reports and updates, food wise.
That was me. I have an update today. I just wanted to highlight a couple of things that our FoodWise team has coming up, and then just also one ongoing program that we have that our educator Miranda has been doing. So Miranda is housed in our Outagamie office. So most of what she does takes place in Outagamie, but one of her Winnebago County projects is at Ascend in Neenah. So that's one of Pillar's locations. So it's a supportive apartment housing for young adults with mental health challenges. So there's a garden there that we had helped them establish with a Growing Together grant that we got through Wise a few years ago. And we had also worked with Kimberly Miller when she was the horticulture educator here and the master gardeners to get that garden up and running. So Miranda goes in there once a month and does a nutrition lesson with a little cooking component and kind of incorporates the garden as well there. So just wanted to kind of touch on that program because that's always a fun one.
Have you found that with the cooking portion of it, probably with all of it, the math comes in? Because I was off at a fast food place the other day and the kid looked at me and said, no, I don't want your change because the computer has already told me and it's going to give me your change. I said, so you don't even have to think. I mean, you can't go 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 50. You don't have to think anymore.
Yeah.
So
People have
this
not
is-
known how to count back change for years.
And
That's a lost art.
it's pitiful, Karen. Is this a way that math is incorporated?
I don't do
Because
any of
you've
the
got to measure
education,
and stuff?
but I don't believe that math is a part of our lessons.
No, I don't think it's supposed to be, but the very
Yeah.
fact that you've got to have a quarter of a cup, what is a quarter of
Yeah.
a cup?
Yeah. I mean, yeah, math is
It's
definitely a
an
part of it.
integral unknown.
I
part of
feel
it.
like I definitely am always trying to do math, trying to like figure out when I'm trying to like change the number of servings and I'm trying to like do the math of how many tablespoons I need to adjust. And I'm like, all right, if this is 12 quarter teaspoons, then how many goes in each serving of this, you know?
That's 3.
Right? Yeah. Yeah, it is. Math is definitely a part of cooking. and-
Yes, it is.
Yes,
My
yeah.
wife never makes the same thing twice.
Oh, yeah.
It's always a dash of this thing, and I think, and she's on, and then you say, that's really good, and she says, you'll never get it again.
Yeah. Yeah, I can't cook like that because I feel like I want it to be the same every time. So I have to measure and it takes a long time. Anyway, I envy people who can just throw things in because I feel like they have a lot.
But you can throw things in when you're cooking. You can't throw things in when you're baking.
It's very true.
Baking really doesn't be measured or weighed.
Yeah.
So anything else from you?
Yeah, so also on the note of gardens, we're exploring with the educational garden that'll be going in here at the in the kind of yard over here. A garden grant again through Foodwise. We're gonna see if we can get a grant to have some beds that will grow food here and then we'll donate that food somewhere. Again, we're kind of like exploring what would be a good place for that to go, kind of looking at maybe something a little less traditional than, you know, like the food pantries that we might kind of automatically think of, like maybe the Hope Bridge location. Our Foodwise team actually just had a team meeting earlier this week and we dropped by the Hope Bridge at Wigner Market. And I mean, this is just, you know, a 5-minute snapshot, but we were there for a couple of minutes and like 3 people came up and like a couple of them were there to use it. It seems like it gets a lot of use. So, you know, we just wanted to kind of check out some spaces like that that are kind of open anytime and anybody can kind of come up that, you know, maybe don't have like food pantries have food serve. Like might participate in CPAP, which is a emergency. I didn't hear what that stands for. Well, it's a government commodity food program, so they have sources of like fruits and vegetables that are reliable, whereas like, you know, the Hope Bridge, for example, is reliant on kind of community donations. So we want to explore some of those spaces that might not have necessarily like reliable sources of donations and might, you know, just have a little bit more of a need for something like this. So, and then one other thing I wanted to talk about is a networking session that Miranda and I are working on planning for just kind of organizations in kind of this general region with kind of Calumet, Allegheny, Winnebago area that work on well-being, just kind of coming out of like since COVID, I feel like a lot of in-person meetings just kind of went to Zoom and just kind of haven't come back. And some of like the coalition spaces and other spaces where we used to see people kind of went away and haven't necessarily come back, or like, you know, kind of priorities have shifted. So we just wanted to create a space for everybody to just get together in person and to really network and just hear what everybody is working on and just be in the same space and be able to see each other and chat and really hear a lot about what everybody's working on, as well as kind of hear from some of the organizations like health departments and like BWell Fox Valley that would, you know, traditionally be the kinds of organizations that provide like backbone support to coalitions and things like that, about what their priorities are and kind of where the commonalities are with us, because we also have capacity to be providing a lot of support to coalitions. But again, like with COVID, health departments really shifted their attention to just kind of immediate COVID response. And then coming out, a lot of their attention kind of shifted away from like the strict physical activity nutrition space, which is what our focus is on as food-wise. So just wanting an opportunity to kind of reconnect with them, to kind of find like, you know, the things that a lot of health departments are focusing on, even if they're not specifically physical activity nutrition, there is a connection between, you know, physical activity nutrition and mental health, for example, or social connection. So just wanting to have really a space for us all to kind of come together and have a conversation about like, where do these connect and how can we work together and how can we as food-wise kind of best use our capacity and our skills for coordination, facilitation, you know, bringing people together to, you know, work together on all of our common goals. So we didn't set a specific date yet, but we're looking at September to kind of have a first sort of networking session and then just kind of see where that takes us.
So just to kind of reinforce what Hannah is saying, what she shared. So her and Miranda and the Foodwise team identified an area of kind of need, or just a situation. It's not a need, it's just a situation that after COVID, things going, so we're never going to be able to see exactly how things were back in 2018 and 2019. Okay, things will radically change, but they're, you know, looking at the nutrition and health and well-being areas is not the only area. So one of the things that extension staff do see is within their areas of influence, being able to be those connectors and try to reestablish just good networking and communication circles that kind of not, well, they faded or changed significantly during the pandemic, and now that we're coming out of it. So it's just a space that we feel we can operate very, very well in. And Hannah and I just chatted about this yesterday. Similar vein, now that our Foodwise team has been fully staffed. Now that we've got Katie on board with our, as a health and well-being educator, focusing on healthy eating, active living, that also gives an opportunity for like Doug Gearin and I to just touch base and say, okay, how can we support each other? How can we collaborate, and how can we ensure that we're doing our job, each of our respective roles, and not duplicating, but supporting to keep growing or creating positive environments or good, good environments for the residents of the greater, the greater Winnebago area to, access to food, opportunities for, mental and physical health, exercise improvement and all of those things. So kind of an exciting time. I mean, I think it is a good opportunity where we're we're done. I don't want to say we're done. We learned a lot of lessons from COVID. No, we're not done, but it is kind of where we're able, or we have a moment or an opportunity to then say, hey, now let's do the things that we're good at.
It's interesting because communication has reared its ugly head. For me, mine is learning patience over and over and over again. It seems like communication at the county is something that really needs to improve enormously, because there's so many different spots that interconnect that communication becomes huge. Otherwise, you're duplicating services, not only duplicating services, but there's confusion as to how does this work.
Ken, are you aware of the chickens being brought in over here? They have a truckload of chickens coming in, semi-truckload.
I'm a little bit.
We'll get like 2 or 3.
Well, that's a good start. But I was thinking, those chickens not only produce eggs, but they produce fertilizer.
Yeah, we'll have a compost pile, I'm sure.
Yeah,
so.
and that can be used in the garden, so if you need more compost, I'm sure they can always add more chickens, because I know the coop is set in segments that can be expanded upon. No.
This, every time we chat, there's more and more chickens. How many omelets do you think you can eat?
No, but it'll be interesting to see that, to make that, because I don't know if chicken fertilizer is good fertilizer. I don't know what it's high in.
It is, but it has to be broken down. You can't just throw it on plants.
Oh.
Fresh, it has to
You've
be-
got to break it down.
You have to break it down.
Otherwise it'll burn the plants out. so.
Chicken more, break it down. So I mean, it'll be interesting to see how that works, because like you're saying, communication with that. And if you don't have a large amount of chickens, that means then you're not gonna have a large amount of fertilizer, which means then it should not get thrown into the landfill. It should be compost someplace, and it adds, and then don't be afraid to sell that too. Or chickens are good for 12 feet garden.
Yeah.
And even squirrel tastes like chicken, right? Okay. One of the things you talked about, the garden that's gonna go on out here. The church I attend in Menasha took their flower beds, that they've had these like raised beds, yeah. And decided this year they were gonna plant herbs and edible flowers, and people are, picking off chives and basil and, oregano, various things. It turned out, of course, the church lady said, well, what about our flowers? But you know what? It turned out to look more lovely, because there are a few flowers interspersed, and it's being utilized. People are picking and plucking, and so something to think about for next year, if you're looking at contacting churches, think about using your raised beds for herbs.
There's an interesting movement with, they're saying don't grow lawns, grow food.
Mhm.
And so it's the clover and the herbs and the vegetables and flowers. and,
Yeah. Okay, any questions for Hannah? Anything else? Moving on to
Thank you.
extension admin and department report. Chris?
All right, so a couple things I want to make you aware of. The last couple weeks have been crazy, so I didn't get a chance to prepare the written update that I've had in the last couple months, but I have some things down. So a couple areas of cool things as far as some staffing updates. So on Monday, Stephanie Bowers joined our extension team as the regional dairy educator. So Stephanie is, her region includes Winnebago, Allegheny, Oconto, and Shawano counties. And so when I get to finalizing and I'm not done. So we don't have the deadline for getting all the budget stuff to the exec's office and finance. But in the past, I've had the table and shows where everybody is. So Stephanie is a full-time extension employee with each of those 4 counties that I listed, being 25% of that co-funded flat fee. So for 2024, it'll be 46,000 and change divided by 4. So Stephanie's role, her office or her base of operation is going to be the Allegheny County Extension Office. So that's also happens to be where there's space and it is closest to her residence, so reducing that individual travel wherever possible. So Stephanie is as a dairy educator, Stephanie's role is going to be to bring extension resources and connections to dairy producers or those agricultural professionals that work with dairy producers. So trying to find the research, and is part of the statewide dairy team. So there's a team of extension professionals that then will help develop responses, resources, or just networking or connection opportunities to get that information out.
How does O'Connell County do it?
So
I'm saying because it's not really.
correct.
Connect.
So there's a couple of things in where it is. So yes, it is. There is so a couple things that wrapped in. So this does split across two areas. So part of area 8 and part of area 10. So myself, the other area director that I'm working with happens to be Andy Dornfeld. So familiar name to some of them. So we've been working together. Couple of the things that go in is both looking at counties that wish to invest, and more so when we looked at the 4 counties, we looked at with our Ag Institute director, Heidi Johnson, and we kind of did the math on how many, not just how many cows, but how many farms and cows there were in the area. O'Connell County isn't, so on the end, so if you kind of look at it, it's kind of a narrow. So Shawano and Outagamie are the 2 largest of the 4. They're the 2 largest dairy cattle areas, with the north half of Winnebago and the south part of Alconto also being, being bigger or having the dairy presence. So it actually is a little more compact. There is also a little bit of a travel corridor with a couple of highways that make it a little more reasonable. So one, it's county wants to have those educational services. And many of the dairy producers, the agricultural communities, when it gets to at that point, the county borders are really irrelevant, and they go with where the cooperatives and that function. So really they're all, it is kind of in a grouping, a naturally formed geographical grouping. So we also
Isn't
match.
Brown kind of in the middle of it?
Actually, no, because Shawano County is stacked on top of Outagamie. So you really drive through Shawano to get, and yes, you take a little bit of a right to veer off, but it's not a
See, I
90
thought
degree.
that Brown and O'Connell would be working
Right.
together.
Yeah, and while that may be, so at some point, Brown also has some partner affiliations with Kewanee and Door, because they just, as a community, that just is some of the natural or the traditional geographic breakdowns, relationship. So, yeah, so no, I guess maybe the short answer is it wasn't just let's throw some darts at a map and see what works. There's a number of factors that go in, and and not to discount the want or the willingness of counties to invest, and also recognizing that, like, say, Winnebago County, dairy is important, and it's not as important as some of our forages and grain crops and those types of things, especially as we start to slide to the south and southwest of the portion of the county. So that's where, when you look at Kevin Jarek, who is our regional educator, he's serving 2 counties, Outagamie and Winnebago, because Winnebago County does produce a lot of both a lot of forage on the northern half of the county, and then a lot of cash grain, way more cash grain. We're starting to get into that as you move to the south. So he's developing that area of expertise. So good things happening there. Stephanie, we're working on getting Stephanie and Kevin on the reporting schedule so that they can, so you have a chance to interact with them, face to face in the not so not so distant future.
Stephanie from like Freedom,
I,
there's a lot of Bowers in the Freedom
yeah,
area.
so what I do know is that her general home address is in Wrightstown. So in that general area, Stephanie is originally, so herself and her family, originally are from, the central New York area, so
Oh.
upstate New York. She has a degree where she started moving to the Midwest. She has a master's degree out of University of Illinois through their ag in dairy science, in agricultural related degree. She was experienced working with a dairy as a dairy nutritionist and a consultant. Took some time to raise a family and help her husband operate. They do currently have an operating dairy farm with a wide menagerie of animals. I'll let her talk about those when you have a chance. And then now that as her family's getting a little more, I don't know, stable, she's able to work a little bit more off the farm. She also in there, while she was home, she also operated a nonprofit organization that that worked to provide diapers and other key necessities for babies or for young children, for those families that, that was an expensive thing.
Sounds like we've got a really good one there.
Yeah, we've got an individual who kind of gets extension and the importance of extension. So it's really, really exciting. Now, we're only, right now, she's totally overwhelmed because like any of us, and I think Dana and Hannah and I can all say that the first couple, like 4 weeks are a whirl because you have to complete this training and that training and do that HR stuff and learn your job and all of those things. So, but I'm really excited about having her on board.
Thanks for the update on it.
Yes. So looking forward to that. The other, one of the other pieces, so Dana and I met with Parks. Dana's leading the outdoor classroom project, but Parks kind of outlined a footprint. We wanted to engage Parks because Parks are the ones that mow the area, and Dana very courteously wanted to make sure that the coop and the beds weren't in like a real pain in the butt spot that would cause an issue. So that was a really good conversation that we had with Chad and, not Chad, Adam. Adam and I can't remember the other, who's the main mower dude.
Yeah, the guy that actually
Yeah,
runs
the
the
guy that
mower.
actually runs the mower. Exactly. So looking forward to that. I think, Dana, what was the most up-to-date timeline of what you anticipate what we would build?
So, after the fair is done, we're looking at probably, they want us to kind of stake out the area. It's gonna be like about 40 by 50 feet roughly. It's gonna go kind of into that longer grass just a little bit. Well, you're not familiar with the side, of the building and that land out there. We're gonna keep it, kind of like a big square. Zilgus Materials is donating they're partially donating mulch, so we're gonna mulch out a nice square area. So Parks has a easy, mow around. And then, this summer, I would like to have the chicken run built, and the area mulched out by September 30th. We're having, 4-H is having kind of a fun event with the sunflower and pumpkin growing contest. So kids have signed up, they've been growing their pumpkins and sunflowers. And so we're gonna have kind of a little event, and I would like to really use that area as kind of an introduction to say, hey, this is what we've got. Look forward to raised beds in the spring and, probably me and my husband. We'll get a few, I'll find a few 4-H helpers that are, either adults that have some woodworking knowledge or woodworking leaders. Yeah, my husband and I built the one on our property
And been
this
there.
summer. Yeah.
Been there, said you want to carve a duck.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
See if you can carve a chicken.
Carve a chicken.
Oh, yeah, that's something I could.
Yeah, we're not doing a real fancy, it's actually,
That's what she thinks.
it's one of, I don't know if you've ever seen like the cattle panel arched, some people make greenhouses out of them. That will be what the run is constructed of, so a wooden frame, cattle panel arch, we'll get some probably white shade cloth to cover part of it. There'll be a small coop inside of that run, so it'll be relatively, I don't know, 8 by 16 feet roughly, so just enough room for the coop and the birds can, have room to roam inside the run. And
Where do you store your grain and all that sort of stuff?
I think tentatively we'll store it inside.
we could store it
You got a
inside.
cubicle open in there?
So we can do that. The other place, if longer term, if there's some need for longer term, we do have a garage bay
Yeah.
in the shed. So if there was some large, you know what I mean? So longer term, short term, be able for,
Even a metal can,
Yeah.
that has.
Well,
a
that's just
secured-
saying, but then putting it someplace and design that into your design where you
Yeah.
can keep it there, but not obvious.
Right,
I mean, the
Yeah,
raccoons will find it no matter what. They'll be after chickens too, so you got more
Right.
problems. there.
yeah, the coop, the run design is very predator safe. It's the cattle panel plus 1/2 inch hardware cloth over it. So, yeah, nothing's getting through there.
We need electricity out there and electrify a fence around. it.
Yeah, yeah, no.
How high is the fence gonna be?
Well, there really isn't fencing right now, but the cattle panel arch, is that what you mean? It's about 6 feet high, like 8 feet wide, 6 feet high.
Okay, I'm just thinking about my raised bed garden back
Oh,
behind our
okay.
carriage house. And those are about 4 feet high and we've got deer jumping them and getting into
Oh,
the
okay.
garden,
Yeah, well, this
eating
will be
all of the good stuff.
yeah, it'll be completely.
They love a
enclosed.
salad bar, Kate.
It's just-
Yeah, okay.
I do have just a couple of other updates I
Sure.
wanted to share with you. So, I am working within the deadlines to get the budget, our department budget, submitted. We'll have an opportunity to share that with you, after I have, my, departmental hearing or conversation with the exec, Steve, or if, Steve's invited, we chat about that. One thing that I do, couple points of that, this is not the official announcement, but I did get some news from Madison that I think is gonna provide some budget flexibility, regarding, one of the positions that is, was fully county funded. I have high confidence that we're going to be able to have the state co-fund that, which will be a significant reduction. And it's also a commitment from the state that position is highly valued. So I'm intentionally not giving, because it's not final yet, but what that does is it is going to allow to utilize some existing resources. Because in talking with both Stephanie and Kevin Jarrett in our ag, is that Winnebago County hasn't had an extension ag presence for probably close to 8 years. A strong individual in the role that would have continual programming for one thing or another. And for one reason or another, and it's a multitude and it's not just one thing. So one of the things is that I do feel in conversation that I will be putting in some appropriate line items, some funding available to them to be able to conduct field days or programs that would utilize some operational expenses for educational events. So that would not have a corresponding registration fee or something, similar that some of our other programs might have. Traditionally, extension programs try to run as lean as possible. And because we haven't had an extension presence, we don't have, so for example, Kevin in Outagamie County has been there for over 26 years. He has, solid relationships with agricultural, like the ag professionals that support that he can say, hey, I need $500 for a donation to do this, and they're like, here's your money. Those types of relationships don't exist yet. So to be able to, build those relationships, both Kevin and Stephanie are probably gonna have a need to, offer programs that have, things like meals, like a lunch, like a box lunch and some things like that, because that's also, part of the currency in the agricultural community is feeding. If you want to try to get producers off their farms, you need to give them a good reason, and many times food is the reason that they can justify that. Yes.
I've been hearing some scuttlebutt on the radio about the legislature and state government cutting programs for the University of Wisconsin.
Sure. So that was the next thing that I was gonna, so I'm just giving you an update on some of the things that I hope to work with the exec to put those in the whys, and also still be very responsible with the county funds, and still make sure that we're able to meet, that we're asking for what we need, not, and, to do what we need to do, but not, no rainy day, or, as a little bit of, I guess, a little bit of, it's a guess, it's a prediction, but it's based on the best information I have at the time. So the last thing that I did have was, as many of you might be aware, that there was, there was a 2023 to 25 biennial budget that was passed by the legislature, and was signed into law with a number of partial vetoes by Governor Evers. So in that, the budget does include a $32 million cut to the University of Wisconsin system. And there was also, in addition to some other projects or some other pieces that were taken out, as far as some buildings to different campuses that were removed. So overall, that's a significant amount. The legislature specifically wrote into language that it was related to diversity, equity, inclusion related positions. And that was one of the areas that the governor did use his partial veto he was not able to remove the cut, but the specificity relating to that. So it's a cut to the University of Wisconsin system, which includes all of the campuses. So the UW system and all of those campus leaders are determining how those cuts are going to be absorbed and allocated to all of the universities. So it will impact all of the universities. And then we are one of the division schools and colleges of UW-Madison. So we're hopeful that we'll be able to, that the broader institution is going to be able to absorb as much as possible, or look at other ways that there might be, so that our core services are not impacted. That's the goal.
I'm wondering if it's going to affect mostly the 2-year community colleges.
Yeah, that's not something that I mean, we could speculate. That's not anything that I have any specific information. There is, the fact that is out there is that there are enrollment concerns with some, not all, but a number of the 2-year colleges, as far as enrollment is, and what might be the best pathway forward. One of the unique things, and I don't know if anyone's familiar. So UW Richland Center, Richland County in Richland Center, so the southwest corner of the state. So that was a 2-year center, became part of UW Platteville, and the enrollment was to a point in which UW Platteville closed up operations or ceased operations at that campus because it was no longer feasible to be able to do that. Richland County, and I think some of you know, the counties own the buildings in the campus, and it's been transitioning those into, which ones can, are they able to repurpose or utilize, which ones do they need to look at, finding tenants or, things like that, which kind of is a little bit of a scramble or a disarray. That could be conversations that happen at other, but I don't know that they're happening, but there are some of those other concerns of like, so, what is the impact to the community if some of those, pieces have, I mean, you think about the, UW Fox Valley, that the campus that is, in Winnebago County and also serves a large part of, southern Allegheny County as well. Beautiful, beautiful set of buildings, but the enrollment just is not keeping pace. So I don't know what those decision points are, but it could be an area of concern. Yeah, or it could be, when you have a cut of 32 million that you have to spread across there, probably all, there's all kinds of things that are on the table for consideration.
I guess my point was,
Yeah.
when they said diversity,
Yeah.
how does that affect us in extension with the diversity,
So-
or is that not going to affect us?
So diversity, equity, inclusion, or the, our educators and our division, that's one of our top priorities, is to ensure that the residents of all of our communities have access to our programming. And so that is key. So that may mean different things in different communities. But it is one of our key things that, how can we get research-based UW, University of Minnesota, Michigan State, all of our partners, how can we get the good stuff that's learned from research, and how can we make it available in formats and forms to residents so that they can improve their lives, their communities, their businesses, all of those things. That's our goal. That doesn't change. So it's one of those things where we'll figure it out. I mean, that's like a non-negotiable for our division. So if there are any trickle-down impacts, our dean has communicated that we'll figure out other ways, because that is the Wisconsin idea of the research and getting it to the, so that the residents of the communities can utilize it, is our number. That is our job. That's our mission. And so we're going to carry on with that mission, and we'll figure out how to mitigate any impact through other means. And we don't know if or what that might be. So right now it's just maybe theorizing until we actually know.
That's fine.
Yes. Yep. The other thing, and I think this might be just to kind of give a heads up. The last biennium budget, for one of the things that, just to give you an idea, I've been a University of Wisconsin employee, or a state employee, for nearly 20 years. The first 15 years of my career, there were minimal salary increases. The only way that we get a salary increase is if it's written into a pay plan within the state budget. There were times in which there were 0.5% and 1% salary increases, and cost of living and other things were going up. There were a number of years in which we actually had pay decreases, where we were required to take furlough, which represented somewhere between a 2% and a 4%, depending on which of the year pay cut. And so this biennial budget is the first time that we've had 3 biennial budgets in a row that have included pay plan increases in like 48 years, or something consistent pay plan increases. So I want to set that context that the last biennial budget had a 2% and a 2% that was spread across. Many of you know that inflation is is greater than, has increased in each of those 2 years greater than 2%. So we're just trying to maintain and creates opportunities to retain workforce. The extent, the legislature and signed into the law by the governor was a 4% increase that was effective on July 1. Now, none of us are, no state employees are actually getting that yet because there are systems in place to review and ensure implementation is. So at some point, we likely will get a little bit of back pay to match that. But this year, our staff are essentially getting a 6% increase. Still, it's the largest increase that state employees have gotten in.
And you still haven't caught up.
And we still haven't caught up. And then there will be another 2%. So why do I want to tell you that? One, deep inside, if we meet all the requirements, state employees are kind of happy because we're going to get a bump to help be able to cover the costs they're increasing. And when we get to the contracted services number, the flat fee for the co-funded does show a 3% increase compared to last year's amount to help keep pace and balance that out. So the contract was used, I can't remember how many years, but for the first 5 years, there were no increases built in. It was held flat. And now just to keep things balanced, so there will be an increase from 44.9 to 46.4. So it is a 3% increase this year. But it looks bigger because it was 44.9 and then there's a 46 number, and it's like 46.3. So it's about $1,000 a person or $1,200 a person, but it looks bigger because it went from a 44 number to a 46 number, even though the hundreds behind it were really actually pretty close to the flat. So just wanted to just put that out there. It's a conversation point that it's kind of the cost of doing business. It is factored in, and with the budget and trying to then also, still, those are costs that were, that then as those increase, those are things that I have to make adjustments in other places because with the tight budget that we have, trying to meet those needs, we just have to balance and, make it balanced by getting what we need where it needs to be and still being responsible to the residents of, the taxpayers of the community that are, through your guidance are providing resources to be able to reach out, to do our job that we share. So.
I have a couple of questions.
Yes.
One, which maybe doesn't have anything to do with what we're doing, but you said that there was this long period of time and there weren't increases. So someone working for the state in your kind of position for 12 years could hire someone who'd be coming in making a higher wage than you were making because they.
So I will say this separately. So my comments were specifically related to increases to the state pay plan process. It was recognized that it was recognized that there was compression, which is exactly what you're describing, that, those that are in their role 10, 15, 5, 10, 15 years were stagnant, and then the market changed and those individuals are coming in, right behind, or in some cases at, in our organization, very rarely ahead, but it's compressed. So UW-Madison recognized that, and there was an opportunity with some one-time funds. So these were some every now and then there are just opportunities usually created through retirements, vacancies, things like that they were able to allocate. I want to think 2 years ago, to allocate funds to reduce compression and to move individuals along. And I kind of looked at this group because we were all, a lot of us in our organization were impacted in some way because we were below what the market value of the market right now. still, we also recognize that as a UW employee that we are not always comparable to like private sector or others, you know, and we have other, there are other parts of our, I'm gonna call it our overall benefit package that make, that make it a good place to continue to work, and, you know, including, health insurance coverage and,
Free eggs.
well, we'll see,
We're
right?
gonna have to bump those chickens up.
Yep, all right. I hear a second truck coming.
You're
So,
gonna have to apply for a variance to the, chicken zoning.
yeah, so there are other mechanisms to try and create, to account for that, Karen. And that's part of the retention strategy, but also the recruitment strategy, that we still need, because the job market is simply put, there's more people retiring than there are, to fill the roles. So all organizations have to get creative in how they're going to recruit and retain staff.
And
Yeah, I have
also
this-
what's happening is that you can't maintain the level that you have because you don't have the horsepower.
In some cases, yes. Now, for example, so I'm not going to say this, I will not say this out loud, but let's just say that my staffing is at a point of consistency that I haven't had in a while. All right. And there still are new staff, and those new staff need to learn. And I went through, right, you saw my reports at the last half of last year and early this year, that I also was doing a heck of a lot of hiring. And, there's, right, then we have new staff and new things, good things, we happen to hire really awesome people like Robin that pick things up really quickly. And there's just also that learning curve that happens. So you do have a little bit of a dip until you can get people in. Or we also have to be creative about looking at skill sets and looking at maybe positions traditionally, how they might be scoped versus like we have someone. So for example, I'm going to use Robin's right here. Robin has brought in a whole new or different skill set, which allows us to look at, how could we use these talents that Robin has combined with Ashley and Amy, who already have, and then how can we keep adding to our team to be able to do, to do things different. Those are the awesome conversations, but you do need to have those conversations,
And you have to be
sometimes.
successful in that and maintaining your existing and adding to it.
Yep.
And then adding younger people that can learn from the older people.
And my second question,
Yes.
when you're talking about this possible thing coming from the state, that's good, okay. Is that gonna come during this budget period? In which case.
It will be in 2024. It will be effective in 2024. So
And
to be-
you'll know it in time to build your budget.
Yes, yes,
Okay.
it's, yes.
Because I'm seeing this little pot of money that we weren't expecting, that what we're gonna do with it, but that's not gonna happen until.
Well, it's gonna be 2024, so it's gonna be part of my planning, part of the planning. And it's not like we cashed in a winning Mega Millions ticket. But it does allow to shore up a couple pieces and be responsible and not, and work within the limits that we have, like utilize a target that is similar to last year's target, and also evaluate the whole thing of what are some areas that we can make some adjustments to be responsible with the funds, with the taxpayer funds that we allocated.
We have a steering committee, extension education steering committee. Who's that?
That's me.
Oh, I see.
Chris and I have been getting together to talk about that, but certainly one of the questions that I had is, it sounds as though WCA and Extension are working towards getting counties that might not be as active as Winnebago County involved in county and extension working together.
Yeah. And again, I get updates of some of the, just like summaries of conversation. One of the things, like the conversation pieces is we do have a guidance document that outlines that was developed by, county board chairs, admins or execs and extension staff that kind of like, hey, what are some of the FAQs about how we can work together? That's going to get touched up, and I'll have an opportunity to share with that. This is one of those ones that this group is not one we've talked about all of these things, and intentionally as part of we welcomed Kay on board, and we were talking about just some of how the mechanics, because we're a little bit different, right? We're different than sheriff's department or highway or some of those in our partnership. So I will do that as well. I will work with all of the counties, but we do have some pretty good, you're right, some pretty good foundations, or some very good foundations in place. So that's an area of like, hey, what do, who's supposed to do what? And we have a lot of new, there's across the state, there's a lot of new supervisors that are learning their roles, and how, the intricacies of how extension and division extension of county work.
Yeah, and what I'm finding is that these there are about 12 of us counties that are involved in this group, and any number of them are saying extension doesn't do anything up in our county, and we're wondering why we are there. And so what WCA seems to be trying to do with extension is pull together those seams so that those counties will be active participants with extension. I mean, you sit there and look at the amount of education, and you look at those counties, and I don't know any of those counties real well, but you wonder about, are they really rural areas where they would appreciate the education, but don't see it being active? I sit there and I look at it and I say, I don't know what your problem is. We're really active here.
And there's a number of different, number of different reasons or where the feelings are, and many of them are unique to each of the counties. So at least as I listen, and I mean, I also have 20 years of experience. I know that there is no one size fits all, because of that is the uniqueness of our partnership, that we engage with each county individually, and each county is different, right? I mean, with the counties that our border touch, well, Outagamie has an executive like Winnebago, the culture, or how things and the issues that they're working on aren't exactly the same, right? I mean, they're similar, and there's threads, and there's areas of areas of agreement, or areas of that things are the same, and then there are like, nope, this is different, and it spreads around. So
Yeah, and I think in terms of budgeting, and they're really concerned, other counties are concerned about why do we have to pay for a UW program? Because we don't have the funding that other counties have to be able to do that. So they're trying to get that all sorted through.
That goes back to what I've been talking about for quite a long time here, is showing what you're doing and what kind of results you're getting from it. Dana, you keep good records that you put together, and that's where you sell programs. You don't tell me you got to do it this way, but this is the reason we do it. This is the demographics. This is who we're touching. I mean, it kind of got me at the university extension. I'm on the board of trustees or someplace. They won't be meetings all over the place. But they were talking about attendance is low. So what they're doing is they're adding more programs. And I'm going, does that really help? I mean, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make them drink. Are you developing something that nobody's going to go to? And that's where you come back in saying, okay, this is what we did, this is what and then you have to have a place where you're at, where you can say, this is what we did. We're a county of X amount, 170 some thousand people. And pretty much, you know, and you divide it out, rural versus urban. And you see, this is what we're doing, but it helps on everything we do in the county. Our health department, 4-H, all that, to get that information out, say, this is why we're doing, this is our justification. Because there's gonna be a time coming sometime in the future where we're not gonna be able to do it all. And I just tickled pink with you saying we'll find a way. Because you know, I love that, but that's a double-edged sword.
Oh, it is. I mean, it's not, I mean, and I say that, I mean, there are some sacrifices in there on hopefully on the backside that, so we can.
Hope there isn't.
Yeah, we hope there isn't, but that would be our priority. And we also recognize that there is a point in which you have to, you know, you can only, you know, the days of extension being able to do more with less we're not able to do that. That was our mentality. We're going to be able to do what we can do with what we have. And if it goes up, you know, if our financial or other resources go up, we'll be able to do more. And if those go down, then we're going to have to decide which of those, and, you know, what sacrifice or what is sunset. And part of that is also why, that's the other thing, not that we use it a lot, but in that scenario, that would be where we would use that same data and that reporting information to say, these are the areas in which we just don't have the same level of impact and or outreach, and that's an area that we're gonna have to sunset because, you know, these other areas are of greater need and.
There's government and politics.
Yep.
Yep. Always can add more chickens.
Well, and if we do it in a really effective manner, we can kill them when they're past their productive life.
Well, I don't want a tough chicken.
They're only good for soup then.
Yeah. I remember in the 50s, my mother was a member of the Homemakers Club through the extension, and you know, they met monthly, they had activities, and it was, of course, that's, you know, life has changed. Women aren't at home as they were in the 50s. But I was thinking about the quilters who used to be here pre-COVID. Have the quilters moved away? Or they?
No, they're still here. They're so I know you're pointing to the room so one of those small things, like, so that group now fits in this room. So some of it is, there are some, so good, bad, or otherwise, there are some groups that is part of, it's similar to the retirement, there's some transitions that might have, and there just isn't you know, they're like more legacy organizations where they're going to get smaller by attrition, and by nature they don't have a.
I can't imagine they can fit in here. I would look forward to the end of these meetings, that I would wander to the next and would just wander through table after table to see what they were creating. They were artists. It was just fabulous.
Right. And also one of the, and this isn't necessarily a bad thing, Karen. So one, they utilize a space like this, but part of that was also necessitated that there's increased demand for the use of A and B for larger group meetings, both our own counties, so our own county departments, and some of our partners that need to utilize those larger spaces for, you know, regularly scheduled business, you know, like county business and committees and other work groups and other, you know, educational settings, those meeting rooms are important for meeting those needs as well. So it's not as if that space is just sitting empty and they're small enough to meet. We had to work with them and like, how much space do you really need? Because we really need the bigger space so that we can work with our additional, you know, all of the other needs for, you know, that this building provides services for.
And quilters will expand to use the amount of space available no matter what.
Yeah. I was by here the other night at 8:30 and there were activities going on in there. I was surprised.
That's not
by the
uncommon
number
to
of
have
cars
evening
here.
activities. So Robin, would you venture a guess?
I mean, this week, I think Tuesday, there were 2 that were in the evening. This week's kind of a quiet week. Last week, it was like horribly busy in the evening. There was just tons of, handing out keys left and right. I was worried we wouldn't have enough keys for after hours. I started telling people, well, there's gonna be another meeting here that evening, so I'll just tell them to unlock the door for you. Because we didn't have enough keys to hand out to people, so they're pretty, and they are asking for the big rooms. They're not asking for this one. We would need.
Yeah, they were absolutely in next door.
Yeah.
But the good news is that the spaces are being used.
Good.
So,
Okay, upcoming extension events.
If you want to mention it, well, of course, with the fair, and I think they're coming to the meeting on Thursday, the Winnebago County Fair Association is their meeting.
Okay.
But as far as 4-H goes at the fair, of course, you know, invite people to stop by the Dipper for ice cream, the basket raffle, there's gonna be lots of cool baskets to buy tickets for. 4-H will have activity stations in the morning. And we are trying out something, I don't know how.
Is that every day?
Wednesday through Friday are the activity stations. We're trying out a elementary teacher day. We're inviting any elementary teachers to come in at 9 a.m. before the gates, you know, when they start charging. So we get here before you have to pay.
What day is that?
Thursday. And we're going to talk to them about what programming we can bring to their classrooms.
Good.
And we're going to give them a tour of the fair.
And have them eat your chicken.
And a dipper treat. Yes, we'll have chickens hatching too at the fair this year. So, yeah, so I'm hoping that we get some papers on the teacher day
The basket raffle is every day?
every day.
Okay. Dippers every day?
Yep.
Okay. Anything else?
Well, and I'm looking at this, we always seem to have our county board meeting just before this meeting. And it's saying discussion for the next county events at the county board meeting. So the next one that
Oh, it would
we
be
had,
September. Oh, I'm thinking.
no,
we
it's
were
in
having one-
August.
or
August is,
rather,
yeah, and it is what, I think around the 15th or the 19th of August
that's
is when
right.
the next one is.
Yep.
And so we can't have a discussion about this.
About the fair.
It did come up
I was thinking,
briefly about
I
the
was
fair.
thinking your meeting was like tonight and it was Tuesday already this week.
Yeah,
Okay, my
exactly.
apologies.
And it was, we did get a whole packet that had the packet that you
but
gave
you
us.
did get the fair packet from the fair.
Yeah, we did get a
Yeah.
big
Yeah.
packet, yeah.
Well, we put stuff out on Facebook and social media and I mean, it'll be out there. So people will see what's going on. So,
Yeah,
okay, my apologies. I was
Robin, will
a month
there
behind
be,
or a month ahead or
will there
whatever.
be another of our programming newsletter that will be out before the next? I think, we intentionally timed, so I have 2 parts. We intentionally timed our upcoming program newsletter that Robin is coordinating, so that's why. So there's we have two items now. We brought back up our pre-event, like our pre-event, I'm gonna call it the forecast, because that's what they call it in Outagamie, and that's a description of it. That is a highlighter and overview of upcoming extension programs. That can, we timed it so that you would have it in your inboxes before the county board meeting.
And that goes to all the supervisors.
I do not handle the forecast, so I'm not sure. I would imagine so.
No, like,
Oh,
our
the monthly
newsletter,
newsletter? Yeah, that has, I added every county exec, basically I went through the entire directory of the county and I added everybody essentially.
so employees are getting it as well as.
Just department heads. I'm not
Okay.
sending it to everybody, but like, you know, everybody.
But all the
directors,
supervisors
all
are
the-
getting it.
Yes,
Okay.
yeah.
So that one is intended so that if there are things that you see, because like Kay pointed out, this meeting is oftentimes trails. If there are items that you see that you would like to share, we're hoping that provide that information to empower you. Like if you see something like, hey, my colleagues, I would like them to know about that you could select an item or two,
Yeah, we can send things to Julie, the county clerk, and she will send it out, just say, send this to all the supervisors, and she'll do that. You don't have to worry about how you're gonna send it out to every.
But she's doing it already. aren't she?
Well, so I just added them to the list, so they're just all included on the list that's getting it sent out.
Supervisor do.
Yeah, we have the supervisors are on our mailing.
But I think talking about hard copies of things.
Oh, I'm not doing any hard copies
Okay.
yet,
all
but
right.
I mean, if you want, I can do them.
Well,
later on.
no, the packets that we got at the county board,
No,
Tuesday
this
night.
this is a email that's
Okay.
going to you and me and everybody else.
Okay, good.
Now, we get it. We can't make anybody look at it.
Correct, correct. And that's the same thing with any of our non-supervisors, on the list. We just hope that we have enough people that open, and we would actually prefer that they get it via email because it does have links, so that way they can click on
Click
the
on
links and
stuff.
find
Yeah,
out more.
here it is, Kim. So you can see,
This
and it's
is,
got any number of links, so yeah, that's.
okay, this is what we picked up.
So I think that, can I look at that thing? 'Cause I
Well,
think this
Alright.
is the forecast.
But on an
this
announcement
isn't
at
the
the
newsletter.
meeting.
This
might
is the
be
county
appropriate
review.
Just to remind
Yeah.
people they are. getting
So-
it, should look at it.
So the review that you have, that is our educators prepare a summary of the activities that they've already concluded or their ongoing efforts, and they're giving updates to items that would be of interest to you. So the newsletter is, hey, we're doing these extension in Winnebago County or the surrounding area are doing those programs. We'd like you to consider attending or participating.
Here's a link to register.
And here's a link to register or more information. And that is emailed to all county board supervisors, all department heads, and a mailing list of past program participants, throughout the community to make them aware of our program.
But if I didn't know about the dippers and the basket raffle and the 4-H activity station and so on, elementary teacher day, if I had known about that, I could have announced that Tuesday evening when it's time for
Yeah,
supervisors to
it
meet.
wasn't the newsletter that went out. I think they had a listing of some of the
Yeah,
things, but
they did, but the newsletter went out, well, actually, it went out on the 14th. So was that before your meeting?
yeah.
No, yes,
Yeah,
yes.
okay.
'Cause we just had our meeting 2 nights ago.
Okay, yeah, because the fifth, we typically send it out on the 15th, but the 15th fell on a Saturday. So I sent it out, I think on Friday
Okay,
or Saturday, or I scheduled it for Saturday morning, one of the two.
okay. I will say, in some months, the 15th could be actually a county board, because it's the third Tuesday, so the 15th
Okay,
could be the third Tuesday of the month, just to be aware of that.
Okay.
It's a
Yeah.
possibility that that could happen.
Well, and it's happening in August.
In August,
There
is
you
the
go.
15th is the
Tuesday.
first is a Wednesday, isn't it? Or is the first a Tuesday?
Yeah, the first is a Monday, I think.
No, first
No,
is
the
the
first
Tuesday.
is a- the
It's
first is a
Tuesday, the
Tuesday.
31st is, so
Okay, that's
then,
right.
so yes, then the 15th day is,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, the first is Tuesday, because that's when we do the judging pre-fair. Okay,
so what time is the meeting typically?
6 PM. But I'm out the door by 4:30 or 4 to 5, because I want to get down there and get my paper set up and stuff. And I live very close to so I give myself plenty of time to get there.
Yeah. So typically, what I've done is send it around 10 o'clock in the morning.
Okay,
If you would like, I can send it specifically to the execs and the supervisors a little bit earlier. I can create a separate one. and-
Keep it simple.
yeah,
in my
yeah.
opinion.
Keep it simple for you.
I mean,
One,
it's a matter of creating a list. So if you want, I can create another list and then I just check. it
No,
off.
that's all right. I'll try to think myself, do I need to call the extension office and find out, is there anything that I need to announce tonight?
Mhm.
Okay.
And what I can do, I'll put my email address up on the board so that
Good.
everybody can write it down. Firstly, so you can communicate if you need to get a hold of Chris, we can handle that. But also if there's anything like Chris said, if you want to add something to the newsletter, I can also do a supplementary newsletter of like specifically fairs coming up, and I can do that maybe I'm looking at the calendar, I just sent it out on the 15th, I can do that the 24th on Monday or the 28th, that Friday, the next Friday. It's just announcing what we just talked about before, it's just stuff. And that way, that's like a supplemental thing. You can, as you talk to your folks, you can say, hey, the email came out, did you see 4-H students?
Okay. And will supervisors get a scrapbook next month of 4-H kids who've done their,
I don't think, are they ready in August?
October is when they turn them in.
oh, we don't give it until October? Oh, okay.
Yep,
Love those things.
yeah.
Yeah, I knew they were coming, but I think August was a little soon.
Okay,
Yeah, October
October.
15th is the due date. for them
Okay,
to
good.
bring them to the office, so.
All right, love those. Okay, anything else, Kay, for the steering committee? We discussed the upcoming, oh, I guess we're done that. Upcoming events for county extension, and you talked about all the things, Dana, going out to the fair.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry, I was,
Middle of your life.
got my
after the
dates all
fair.
mixed up.
All right, comments by committee members. Doug, do you have anything?
No, I'm good.
Okay, Kay,
I'm,
you shut
wait,
your,
wait, I have talked an awful lot, Karen, today. Just in case you were unaware,
yeah, I know, okay.
I'm done.
I'm good.
And I don't have anything. I would say we should, those of you who got one of these, fill one of these out before you leave.
Yep, there's various, you just need to do the bottom section.
Yeah.
Where you're rating.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We've done this before.
Yep.
And again, I encourage you to sign up for judging of, you're not the ones who are giving out blue ribbons for the cattle to see who gets the, the most money. You're going there and looking at the area that the kids are working on and how they keep their area cleaned up and how they take care of their animals, what they know about their animals. This is, you're not the person who decides, this is the blue prize winner who's gonna get, $1 million for his cow. That's not what you're doing. That's somebody else, somebody with a whole lot of information and education knows how to do that. But I would encourage anybody who could sign up for the fair judging to do that.
Now, in talking to Sarah, something changed this year.
Oh, some of the age groups, so where they had the Clover Buds and the Explorers at separate judging, DATCAP made some changes to the age groups, so they're grouped by grades. And you're not gonna see that Clover Bud Exploring this year, it's a little different, like, youth and their first timers and.
She left me with the impression, though, they were looking for certain qualifications of judging. It just wasn't.
I don't know that that's the case. When I talked to Jody, she's, typically, yes, if they're hiring judges, they have to be DACAP certified to go through, that process. I don't know that they're doing that for those younger kids.
Yeah, I was hoping about that.
Yeah,
I was left with that impression.
I don't think so. Not for the young ones.
I signed up for the littlest of,
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
I don't want to have to give one kid a first, second, so, sorry, you came in fourth.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I don't need to think about food.
Laura, you
They're
let them
gone.
talk, draw out of them, you give them their Culver's coupon and tell them what a great job they did and.
Is there something we're supposed to be looking at, posters or something next door? Why do I think that there was posters?
It's these.
Oh,
Yes, if you could fill these out before you go, that would be great.
okay,
Yeah, the
Thank
judging sheets.
thank you.
Next meeting, are we at that
I think we are. I think it's already scheduled.
17th of August?
That's what I have,
That's what I asked.
9 AM, 17.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, and in fact, Karen, we're gonna be doing another internet thing with Mia that day. That
What
starts
time is that?
at 8:15.
I must have come the night before.
Seriously.
You could stir some eggs for breakfast.
Yeah, I'll go check the chickens when I get it.
It was interesting this morning because I'm coming saying, how do we cut and paste? And lo and behold, if we're not talking about laptops as opposed to iPads and,
Yeah, let me
interesting.
know,
Apple versus Google.
let me know, another guy and I might come down and help. Are you putting gravel basin for the chicken?
We'll probably do just hardwood, mulched hardwood. I
Well, I
don't
guess-
think I'm gonna do
I can
sand.
over design anything you build, so you have to rein me in.
We're keeping it simple.
But that's the kind of stuff, there's a friend of mine I graduated from, and this would be right up our alley. It's
Oh,
not
okay.
quite big and your husband if he wants to, but you might be able to go and clean your chickens or something, whatever else you want to do.
All right, well, I'll keep that in mind.
We'll make sure you bless everything before we do it.
Sometime in the seventies or early eighties, there was a syndicated radio show called Chicken Man. And there was only about 7 or 8 minutes, and there was this whole thing of Chicken Man, yes. I think that's what we're gonna call you, Tom, is Chicken Man.
Yeah.
Give me a subject, I kind of get over.
All right. If there's nothing else, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Second, all those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
We're adjourned.